How many people in this room are perfect? That's right, nobody. Nobody can ever be perfect. Nobody ever will be or has been. But that's always going to be a bad thing about being a person, that you will never be perfect. You will never be able to achieve a perfect essence. Shakespeare says, however, assume a virtue if you have it not. As if it doesn't matter if you're not perfect, because you will have flaws. You have virtues that you will not have obtained. But it's still good to go after those virtues anyways, and to try to perfect yourself even though you can't. A huge example of this is Gandhi. He is not perfect. No matter how great of a person he wasn't perfect. Yet he tried to achieve perfection in one of the greatest ways. He was selfless. He told the truth, and he did everything not for himself, but for the betterment of humanity. And he tried to obtain all the virtues he could to better himself and to try to help better everyone around him. Everyone has a flaw. Like my uncle, for example, he is a big alcoholic. Not the type of alcoholic where you go to the bar every night and you get drunk, but the type of alcoholic when you're mad and always upset at your family. And that's one of his biggest flaws, I'd have to say. It's probably his only flaw. And he knows it's his flaw, but he can't really help it. He tries to perfect it, but he can't. And he just can't do it. And he tries, and that's what makes him better. The fact than other alcoholics. The fact that he actually is trying to make himself better. Instead of just giving up and accepting that he has this problem, he's trying to move past it. Another person who had a huge problem was Martin Luther King Jr. When I was in elementary school, I had to research him, and believe it or not, he was a very violent person as a child. He would get into tons of fights up until his late teens, and they were all brutal. He'd end up putting people in the hospital. He went to the hospital himself a few times just because he would apparently had a violent nature. But one day, however, he decided that he had a problem and he wanted to stop. So he just decided to stop becoming violent. He tried to better himself, and he did. He ended up becoming a pastor, and he's known for changing the world in a passive way, in a non-violent way. He found out he had his problem, and he fixed it, and he used his experience of learning to better himself and the world. And that's one of the greatest things about having a problem, is that when you fix it, you're not only fixing you, but you're fixing everyone around you. You are helping everyone by helping yourself. Like my friend's father, he would cheat on my friend's mom really bad all the time, and my friend's mom knew about it, and that was one of the worst things. And they wouldn't separate because the mom still loved him, but she had to kick him out of the house. He was just a bad example for my friend, and he just had to go. And I moved away from that area probably right when he got kicked out. But when I came back to visit my friend and stay at his house, his father, who was there again, told me his whole story. He had ended up living on the streets, no job, in the gutter, practically getting drunk every night with whatever money he could find. And he realized that he had a problem. He wanted to become a better person for his son, for his wife, for his parents, for everyone around him that he had harmed in some sort of way, and most importantly for himself. So he got his act together. He found a job again. He started working hard, and then eventually he went back, saw my friend's mom, and begged her to take him back in because he had changed, and he did. And when I went back, I hadn't seen that family so happy in such a long time. I couldn't remember a time where they could all eat dinner without it ending up in an argument, or my son getting kicked out of the room and me getting kicked out of the room because they didn't want us to see it. And one of the greatest things about that is that when Shakespeare says, assume a virtue that you don't have, he doesn't mean go for it, try to change yourself. He means better yourself. Become a better person, not a different person, because you were born to be a good person, and everyone still attains a flaw, and the best thing about us is that we can fix it, or we can at least try. And Gandhi did it, Martin Luther King Jr. definitely did it, and my friend's dad did it. And that's why we should always strive forward, always for perfection, because we might not ever reach it, but we'll get there. As the old saying goes, you can shoot for the moon and you can miss, but at least you'll land among stars.